In 1914, when Canada Cartage was founded, the country was a very different place. Robert Borden was Prime Minister, there were just under 8 million people living in the country, and World War I had yet to be declared. Over the last 100 years, Canada has changed quite a bit, and so has Canada Cartage. Today, Canada Cartage is a dedicated fleet provider operating over 4,300 trucks. The Mississauga, Ontario-based company currently employs more than 3,600 people, but it wasn't always this big. When Robert Leslie founded the company, he had a much smaller staff and considerably less horsepower. Fred Leslie is Robert's grandson. Although he's retired now, he spent 50 years working for the company. He was even co-owner at one point. Fred knows the company's history and told Truck News about Canada Cartage's origins.
The story that has been told many times is that my grandfather, when he immigrated here from Scotland, Barrhead, Scotland, which is the south bank of the Clyde, in 1902, he spent his first 3 nights in Toronto on the bench in the Union Station. And he had nowhere to go but up. And he had the Scottish desire to do that. And being in a business, as he was, as a salesman for a rather large company, I guess he decided that there was something more to do. And I think he had a love of horses as well. And he bought a horse and wagon and started up the company and called it Canada Cartage. And it wasn't too long after that he developed the logo with the beaver on it. And then it became a limited company and grew from there. There was a need, a very definite need for Toronto, and Toronto was expanding and needed transportation, and horses and wagons was the mode of transportation at that time. I understand we wound up with about a team of 20 teams. It would be that many more horses, like 40 horses. And there were single horses at start, but they were into teams earlier on. I remember my grandmother, the business was down on Shaw Street, and she was telling me about they'd work the horses during the day, and then they come in and they put on their dress harnesses and polish them all up and run them down to the Royal Winter Fair, which was really just right around the corner in the exhibition grounds, and win ribbons with them at night.
Canada Cartage began adding trucks to its fleet of delivery vehicles in 1917. At the time, the company was running international harvesters. In just over 10 years, the fleet numbered 20 trucks and a 14-foot van semi-trailer. Eventually, Fred's father took over the business and let Fred get involved. He was about 12 when he began doing ride-alongs with company drivers because he thought they were fun.
When I got involved in the business, I made sure that I got my license to drive, which is something my grandfather never did, drive a truck, that is, and my father never did drive a truck. So I got the license, I got the tractor trailer license and the airbag endorsement and all that. I came back from my honeymoon and my dad said, "You certainly have learned a lot about trucks in the last few years you've been working here," because I started there full time in '52. And he said, "I think you should take over the purchase of all the trucks and control of the trucks," which I did. I became fleet manager at that particular point. I was very young to be doing it, but it was still a learning process.
Well, Fred has many fond memories of the business, and especially of the people who worked there. He says some of the things that really stick out in his mind are the dramatic events.
Oh, I think some of them are calamities. Some of the memories are calamities, things that happened, accidents and things like that. We derailed a train up in Richmond Hill one time, which took a lot of time and effort to clean up. But
how did you manage to do that?
Well, it was a private railway crossing on a factory up there, and we were delivering steel for a company called Russell Steel, and we were crossing this private track with no wigwags, no warnings at all. And the train came barreling down the track with a load of cars and cattle on, and they hit the back of the cab and separated the tractor trailer, and it laid all this boilerplate down the track, and of course it derailed all over the place, and the cattle were running all over the place, the cars were a mess, and we thought it was the end of the world. Turned out it was their liability and not ours, that they should have had some sort of a warning or a flag man there, which wasn't there.
While Fred is no longer involved in the company's operations, he says Canada Cartage is continuing to grow and expand, just as it has done since his grandfather's time. Another tradition has continued as well, passing the mantle of leadership from father to son. When Fred became co-owner in 1970, his partner was Bill Lindsay. Bill had been Canada Cartage's accountant before working with Fred to take the reins of the company. Now Bill's son Jeff is CEO and president. Canada Cartage has undertaken a number of projects to mark its 100th anniversary. It commissioned a video depicting key moments in the company's history, and it hired an artist to create posters to represent the company throughout the ages. It also held a ceremony to mark the occasion. Politicians and local dignitaries were among those invited to the event. In Brampton, I'm Carolyn Grusky, reporting for TMTV.